Hi, I'm Scott Plum, and I'm here today with Anucha Browne-Sanders, who's visiting Lynn University. Ms. Sanders attended Northwestern University and was a member of the women's basketball team. Northwestern has classified her as being one of the most outstanding athletes in the university's history. After her basketball career concluded, she joined the corporate world, where she worked with IBM as part of their worldwide sports office, participating in events such as the Olympic Games in '96, '98, and 2000. In 2000, she was hired by the Knicks as a senior marketing executive. In 2006, she filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against Isaiah Thomas, the former general manager of the Knicks and Madison Square Garden. Ms. Sanders,
Yes.
let's go to the very beginning. Can you describe your childhood and what that was like, where you're
Sure.
originally from?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and had a great childhood. Two very loving, supportive parents, and went to a small girls' Catholic high school right in Brooklyn, New York, and then moved on to study at Northwestern University. I was a student athlete there as well, played basketball. Graduated in 1985, and went on to work in the corporate world from there.
Awesome. Okay. At what age did you discover your love for basketball? Who was your biggest supporter?
Right around the ninth grade. Just really decided to move forward with it. There weren't too many opportunities and teams available in Brooklyn for young girls to play, but my parochial school did, and my high school did, and I flourished in those years.
Awesome. Why did you choose to go to Northwestern?
Really for the student athlete experience. It was a school who I thought had the best of both worlds. It had a strong women's athletic program, and it had a tremendous academic reputation.
Anything that stood out from your experience at Northwestern?
Let's see. Stood out. I think when I look back at my years at Northwestern, I think of a school that truly exemplified the importance of it, you being a student and an athlete, and put a tremendous amount of priority on your student life as well as your athletic life.
Okay. When you worked for IBM, part of the worldwide sports office, part of your responsibility is to work with the Olympics. What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. IBM was one of the technology sponsors was the technology sponsor for the Olympic Games, and so they provided the enabling technology and the infrastructure for the games to run. And what that meant was, all of the result systems, all of those. It was a huge systems integration project, and my role was to provide really some marketing communications around that, why IBM sponsored the game, and break that huge systems integration platform story into meaningful parts so that the everyday technology user or consumer would understand how it applied to them.
Okay. It was reported that the New York Knicks was your dream job. What advice do you have for students currently enrolled in our sports management program that are trying to work for their favorite sports team, whether it be in the NBA or NFL, for example?
Work hard to get your foot in the door. Sometimes it requires some just volunteering to be on an events staff at a variety of different events. And then as you move up that ladder and really define what it is you want, make sure that you do your research on the company that you are given an opportunity to work for before you accept a job there. I think it's important for young people to interview the interviewee as much as it is for them to be interviewed. You come prepared to ask questions about what the work environment is like, and then ask very direct questions. I think it's important, and I think more and more businesses understand that they should expect to be interviewed, because we have very smart, sharp people coming out of some of our business schools around the country and some of our undergraduate programs around the country. So it's important that they come to an interview armed with questions to ask.
Okay. We know you made leaps and bounds in the sports industry. What is it like to work for a predominantly male-run industry?
I felt like I flourished in it, and I think a lot of that was based on my background as a student athlete. I never really looked at myself as being the only one of a few women in the organizations. Because I think so much of it is, can you interact? Do you have the social skills? Can you interact with male, female in any environment? I think even outside of the sports environment, when I worked in a technology environment, it was heavily dominated by males. And I think so much of it is coming to the environment with the social skills that that allows you to be successful, because I believe 70% of your success in business is how you approach it socially.
Okay. Because of the amount of publicity your case received, do you feel you have an obligation to help other women whose voice cannot be heard?
Absolutely. I feel that, if anything, this case was about retaliation for speaking up in the workplace about an environment that really was unhealthy and unfair and illegal. I think that it's important because so many women don't have a voice, and so many women are working under these conditions. Men are working under these conditions, and I think if anything came out of this lawsuit and the results of this lawsuit, it was about leadership in an organization really speaks for how an environment will play out in terms of what your experience is as a worker, male or female. I do absolutely feel like I have a responsibility to represent women and women's rights in the workplace, and simply that every woman, every person should be able to go to work and feel like they work in a positive work environment. They spend so much of their working hours there.
Would you say that people today in corporate America every day commit some sort of sexual harassment act without knowingly they're doing it?
No, I don't. I don't think that that's accurate. I think there's a good part of men and women that work in environments today that understand the rules, understand the guidelines, and I think, clearly work environments vary in terms of what are acceptable conditions of work, and what's an acceptable playing field in terms of things that are said in the workplace, how people act, how people treat each other in the workplace. But I think more and more it gets to leadership. And if you have strong corporate leadership from the top down, you're going to have a work environment that is of character and has integrity and is positive and healthy for everybody there.
Okay. And do you have any other advice that you want to give to students, primarily athletes that work and go to school and participate in school activities, sports? Any advice you would want to give them as before they leave the university to go out into the real world? Any advice?
Well, I think I just think that so much of what happened to me in this environment was when I worked for the New York Knicks was a result of poor leadership. And if there are lessons learned, it's going back to one of the questions you asked before, is make sure you understand the environment that you're going to be working in. Mm-hmm. Don't just take a job because you think it's your dream job. Think about what your experience is going to be about and like in the environment you're going to be working in. To student athletes, I think it's so positive that they have that athletic experience to take them through. I think it holds so much credence in the corporate world. You're able to work in a team setting. You can be a leader and you can be a follower. It's important to also understand what your roles are, and sometimes you just need to be a follower. Mm-hmm. Those are great lessons that can be learned on the playing field. If you don't happen to have an athletic background, there are so many opportunities for you to still gain those skills. And for people that aspire to be in the sports industry, women in particular, please go after it. We need more women in the sports environment. I think women bring a unique skill to the environment in terms of how they approach negotiations and how they approach marketing. So I think there are wonderful opportunities for women in sports.
Well, thank you. I hope that many women that tuned in today actually get the chance to hear your advice and go ahead with it and go for their goals. So I appreciate you visiting Lynn today, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.